I think we must take heed of the way states interfere with speech, with journalism, with television, with the internet, and with books. My own research concerns state interference with books, and I have spent a lot of time in the archives. My goal is not just to condemn censorship, which I hate, but to understand it. The problem is, it can look so simple, the struggle of repression against liberty. Well, that's correct. However, if you get inside it, it's much more complicated. So I feel my challenge as a historian is to get inside the mechanism of censorship, to understand how it worked, and even to understand how the censors themselves thought. So I began in 18th century France, which is my specialty as an historian, and I read hundreds and hundreds of letters from one censor to another talking about their jobs. I also read the archives of the police when they broke into bookstores or seized authors and put them in the Bastille. There was severe repression, but it was more complicated than that, and the censors thought, as one of them said, "Je défends l'honneur de la littérature française." I am defending the honor of French literature. They thought it was positive. The censors had to give what were called approbations so that a book would receive a privilege. A privilege was kind of like a copyright. So any legal book had to pass through the censorship in order to be published. But a privilege, it's not like getting a copyright today. It's a royal stamp of approval that actually concerns the quality of the book. If we jump now from 18th century France into 20th century communist East Germany, I was there when the wall fell in 1989, I actually met some censors. The meeting was arranged with mutual friends who were East German authors, and I had a conversation with them. I said, "What is your job? How do you do it? How do you understand it?" etc. And one of them, his name was Hans-Jürgen Wesener, answered in one word: planning. Censorship is planning. Literature should be planned like anything in a socialist country. And then he reached into a drawer of his desk and pulled out the plan for East German literature in the year 1990. It was a year that never happened because the Berlin Wall fell. But he gave me the plan. I studied it. And then I went into the archives of the Central Committee of the Communist Party and studied the archives over 5 years. And soon I understood, I think, what the censors meant by censorship. Literature should be engineered like everything in a socialist system. And they thought this was positive. They believed in it. They were not simply hacks who were trying to repress liberty. But of course, they did repress liberty. And East Germany had a kind of gulag where authors were sent. The repression varied over time. It was much worse right after World War II. But by the time I arrived in Germany, the Stasi were everywhere, the secret police. In fact, I discovered I had my own dossier in the secret police of the East Germans. So the idea is to not simply condemn censorship, but to understand it.